1. Now, I am not claiming to do everything by the book. However, where I work, we have about 50 plus servers employed total. I get along with all of my coworkers except one server that no one likes, but that's a whole different story. And it doesn't really bother me when servers do this until it affects the customers. Some servers will do stuff like oversweeten the sweet tea, and then other servers will use the measured amount. So pretty much every tea batch is sweetened differently. Some servers make our strawberry lemonade with strawberry syrup and strawberries, which we're only supposed to use strawberries for the lemonade and syrup for the strawberry tea. There are other things, but these are the two relevant things. I had a mother and her young son that came in tonight. The mother ordered water and was upset that we had run out of lemon and demanded that she should be able to get sweet tea without paying for it. That's fine, pick your battles, you know. And she ordered a strawberry lemonade for her son. I got the drinks. I made the strawberry lemonade with only strawberries like the managers tell us to do and take it out. She took a sip of her tea before she started her order and tells me the tea is unsweet. I apologize and just assumed that whoever made the last batch of tea had forgotten to sweeten it, or put a spoon in the spout to symbolize it's unsweet. I went back to the kitchen and tasted the tea first. It was sweet, so I got her a tea from the urn. I go back and she tells me that her son said his strawberry lemonade doesn't taste right. I apologized and offered to get him another one. I checked to make sure the lemonade machine wasn't out before making another. I take it back out, and she tells me her tea is still unsweet. So I had to explain that I did taste the tea before giving it to her, and it was sweet. However, we don't put a lot of sugar in our tea. I also told her that we have Domino's sugar packets on the table if she wanted them, and also offered her a soft drink or lemonade to replace the tea. She got mad fast. She wants to know why the tea was super sweet last week but isn't now. I apologized again and told her that our policy is a set amount of sugar for each batch of tea, and that there have been times when it gets oversweetened, sometimes accidentally, sometimes purposely. She was still mad and asked me why I couldn't just add more sugar to the tea. Bitch! We have a set measured amount of sugar for each tea. I can't just put double the sugar in the entire urn for one person, who also doesn't even have to pay for her tea. She finally gave up, and said she just wanted Coke, but that her son's strawberry lemonade still is wrong, and there's no syrup in it. So I said, yes ma'am, the strawberry lemonades are made with only strawberries, no syrup. She goes, no syrup? What do you mean no syrup? That's not how it was last week. There was syrup and strawberries. I just gave up. I told her I'd fix it and add syrup plus strawberries, and she fucking says, so you can add syrup to the lemonade, but you can't add extra sugar to the tea? I had absolutely no response and just apologized again, and walked away to fix the lemonade. 2. So I work as a barista at a coffee shop. I'm usually on bar making the drinks, but on this particular day I was put to work at the register, because one of my newer co-workers was learning how to make drinks with my supervisor. This was a particularly busy day, and the line was almost out the door, so I was trying my best to take people's orders as fast as I could. At one point, after I had finished helping a customer, the next customer in line does this. I can help whoever's next. Rude customer turns to the line of people, raises her hand, and yells very loud, that's me, it's my turn, no one go in front of me. She comes to the counter very annoyed by how long she had to wait, and clearly was very frustrated about the wait. I take her order, and at the coffee shop I work at, we have a reward system that if you build up enough points, you get a free drink. After looking up her rewards, I noticed that RC had enough points to get a free drink. I let RC know that she can get a free drink, so she decides to add another drink to the order, so that she only has to pay for one of the drinks but is getting 2 now. The thing about our reward system is that when you put in the drinks, the free drink is always the one with the lower price. I try to explain to her that we could do 2 separate transactions so that she could get the most expensive drink free and then buy her second drink. Just letting you know that the free drink you want costs more than the first drink you ordered. Whatever, I don't care, I'm in a hurry. I then tell her the total of the one drink she has to pay for. What? Why is it more expensive? I then try to calmly explain what I said before. You know what, I don't have time for this. Whatever, take my money. You and this stupid company always keep finding ways to try to take advantage of me and my money. No tip for you. I honestly just started laughing. She then proceeds to go to the bar side where my co-workers are making drinks. There also isn't really much of a barricade between us and the customers, so she stands pretty much right next to CO. CO, who is new, starts to make her drinks but has to look at the recipe because they don't know how to make everything yet, but the recipes are pretty easy to follow and there isn't much you can do to screw them up. You know what? If you don't know how to make them, I don't want them. I find this insanely ironic since she made such a fuss about how we were taking her money, and now it's just like, whatever, I'll just pay for a drink and not get anything now? My manager, finally hearing all the yelling, comes out and tells me to make the drink since I'm more experienced on the bar. RC rolls her eyes and gestures to me. Are you kidding me right now? I stare at her. Yeah, I'm not doing this. RC then takes her drink, doesn't even wait for the second, and leaves. I get that some people can be having a bad day, but at some point, in my personal opinion, there are ways you should and shouldn't treat people who are just trying to help you out. One last thing. I think some people might be confused about how the reward system at my job works. The customer has to give me their phone number for me to look up their points. So the reason that I tried to explain to her that we could do separate transactions was simply because I would have to put in her phone number for the reward system all over again. I wasn't able to give her the more expensive free drink first, because she had already ordered the first drink, and our system doesn't allow you to make the more expensive drink free unless you put in the rewards for a second time. Customer's phone number. 3. So I work as a bar manager and bartender in a relatively tiny bar where I went to college. We have bands playing almost every weekend and we get some weirdos from time to time, just like everyone else. There's this semi-regular who I'll call Douche because he is one, who came in a few Saturdays ago with his wife. Douche has never been my favorite person. He's annoying, he racks up huge tabs, and never tips. He got pretty tipsy over the course of a few hours and was paying in cash all night, even though he normally paid with a card. Every time he opened his wallet I could see a huge wad of cash in there. But he didn't tip after any of his drinks. Oh well, been there, done that. Chalk it up as a loss. I had gone to the bathroom briefly, and when I got back I noticed Douche shoving some cash over the bar. There was cash everywhere near him. It was all over the bar in front of him, where people normally put their tips. It was over the drink mat, the ice bin, the rail with bottles in it, and the floor. I quickly walked over and began picking up all of his cash and tried to hand it back to him when his wife stopped me. He said that money is for you. It's his money and he can do what he wants with it, and he says it's for you. Okay, weird, but I do as I'm told and I take the money. I don't put it in my tip jar though. I leave it off to the side in full view of both of them in case he comes back and sees his money is gone, and it wasn't actually a tip for me. Side note, his wife is completely sober. She's only been drinking soda. Douche ends up getting a few more drinks. His wife leaves. Neither of them bring up the large tip. $116 to be exact, just for a reference point. When he leaves, I take the tip and put it in the tip jar to split with my other bartender at the end of the night. The next day I get a phone call from the bartender currently working who had no idea what happened last night, and he says, Douche's wife called and asked if we still had the money he asked for us to keep behind the bar for him last night. He said it was $60. Oh hell no. The wife left her phone number and I told all of my bartenders that if she called again to let her know my schedule and that she could come in and talk to me in person if she wanted that money back. First of all, it was his money. Second of all, she was the one who told me to keep it. Thirdly, that wasn't even close to the correct amount, so what was going on? She clearly told me it was a tip from him. I don't know what happened and if they were fighting or not, but neither of them asked for it back that night. And if they had, I would have handed it back to them with little more than an eye roll. You can't just decide you actually don't want to tip the day after. My shift on Tuesday rolls around and I didn't actually think they were going to come in and ask for it because who wants that kind of confrontation? But alas, Douche walks in and I take him out in the hallway and ask him what he wants. He immediately starts stammering, I think I left my debit card here this weekend. You paid in cash and we didn't find one when we cleaned that night. Yeah, okay, thanks. But he didn't leave. He just stood in front of me wringing his hands. Is that all you came for? Your wife called. I wasn't going to make it easy on him to ask for his money back. If he wanted it back so badly, he needed to vocalize it. Yeah. We were just looking for my debit card. Then he walked off without asking for his money back. Hasn't been back since. Had he asked for it back, I would have given it to him and asked him to never return to our bar. It would have been a small price to pay to get rid of him once and for all. I know it's a little petty, and I could have just handed it over, but it's not my fault that they regretted that tip in the morning. There's a lot of people who regret their bar tabs in the morning, but we don't give them their money back on that, so why should I with a tip? I just needed to vent a bit. 4. Our restaurant does till service rather than table service. Used to do table service months ago. So that means that we get the guests seated, tell them their table number while pointing at a little wooden block that has a number on the end of the table, and tell them to pop onto the tills to order. When it's busy, there can be a very long line, up to 15 people, and people tend to get agitated and short of patience, which I completely understand, as I'd be a bit annoyed as well. Doesn't help that we have 3 tills present, of which only 2 work, and that we generally only have enough staff on hand to have 1 open. So I notice that the line is stupidly long and offer to jump on the second till. My supervisor tells me to go for it. She's on the other till next to it, but says that it only works with card. Brilliant. I log on and shout if anybody is paying by card. No one reacts, and I ask again to make sure, intently looking at each of their faces to see any possible reaction. One server tells me that nobody is paying by card as she went through the line asking. So I go back to bussing tables and seating people and serving food for no more than 5 minutes, until the group who is in line stops me dead in my tracks. Meet the cast. It's a middle-aged lady, and her friend, ML, and one other gentleman in front of them, OG, relatively in the middle of the line. I assumed that they were all on the same table because they were all talking to me at the same time, and they were talking amongst each other. At first I have problems understanding what they are trying to tell me, and I ask them to clarify as I'm having problems understanding the issue. I'm asking why the line is so long. Why do you not have more tills open? It's totally unacceptable to make people queue like this to order their food. I'm so sorry. Are you paying by card? I can open the other till for you. Well, that would be about time, because I've been waiting here for 10 damn minutes. She cannot have been in line when I called because she'd have heard me and my colleague would have talked to her. So she must have literally joined a line a few moments ago and lied about waiting for so long. Why do people lie? Why are you dramatic like this, trying to make me feel bad for you and acting like I am a shitty server who doesn't pay attention? I am ever so sorry. I did call out about 5 minutes ago if anybody was paying with their card. I must not have heard you. As I said, I'm more than happy to open the till if you're... OG had been trying to interrupt several times already.
I'm paying by card as well,
he continued talking, being very upset, and I could not understand him because of how agitated he was. He was talking fast and stuttering, and I just nodded, apologizing. I rushed to the till, log on, and call out very clearly, "For those paying by card, please come forward." ML and her friend come to my till. Immediately, ML continues. The service here changed, and it's not the best. I know it's not your fault, but this is awful, just awful. I won't ever come back here. We get to the order, and once we get to paying, she whips out her card and I push the button to activate the card reader, which offers the possibility to add a gratuity for the service. It never used to do this and was reset a few days before, which I was unaware of. ML almost loses it and spits out, "Oh, no chance in hell!" and shoves her finger on the refuse button. After she pays, she asks for a number she can call so she can give some feedback. I hand her our feedback card and she leaves with her friend. OG walks up. "Hi, you are paying by card, right?" OG immediately starts rambling at me with a raised voice about how he had been in front of ML, and I just let them shove themselves past him, and how, yes, he is paying by card, stop asking already. The only reason I didn't say anything was because I legitimately thought they were on the same table. Okay, I'm so sorry. He continues to ramble about the service I'm giving him. Right again, I'm so sorry, what's your table number? Slams the wooden block on the counter.
That's my table number.
I'm trying to keep calm. Right, okay. Table 9. What can I get for you?
An apple juice and a root beer.
Intermittently slamming the counter with the cube. We don't have any apple juice, I'm afraid. I turned to my supervisor. Have we got any root beers left? No, delivery comes in tomorrow. We're so sorry, we don't have any root beer either. OG loses his shit, slams the cube and shouts.
So you don't have apple juice or root beer, that's it. Goodbye!
Slams the cube one last time, leaves it and storms back to his table. Me and my supervisor both go, bye-bye. As there is nobody left in line, I take the cube and walk to his table. I gently place it back on his table while he's putting on his coat, and orders his wife around to do the same so they can leave.
There is nothing on the menu here. No drinks, no service.
I just smile at him and walk away from this mess and get back to my work. I was a bit shaken by the whole affair because I still cannot understand for the life of me why these two thought it was okay to be so aggressive and dramatic and direct it all at me. While the post looks like it took half an hour, the whole situation probably lasted about 8 to 10 minutes in total. These people literally talked for a total of 8 minutes to me and managed to spit out so much venom and anger that had left me completely baffled. I also dislike the service system in my restaurant, but honestly, if you hate it this much, by all means leave a feedback note to the head office and vent to your friends and leave. But don't behave yourself like that towards people who have no choice but to do as the system says. I go out of my way all the time to jump into action so no one has to wait for too long. But that is still not enough for other people who think that because they are a guest, I must bow down to them and accept the abuse they throw at my face. While ML was just being passive-aggressive and bitchy, OG was so aggressive that I should have flat-out refused to serve him and tell him we would call security if he continued trying to intimidate me by slamming the counter with the cube. It was very loud. Other customers were turning and looking. Anyway, a nice lady came up to me when I went back to the counter and said, "You have to remember that most people are nice people." I agree. 5. I was working at a McDonald's booth in a food court at the local mall at the time. Closed over a year after I quit, so every day had a new adventure. This day was no exception. I was working the evening shift during a large dinner rush, so naturally, my booth only had one register open out of 2 working registers. Seriously. And a mile-long line around the food court, potentially blending in with all of the other lines in the food court. You can guess where I was. You guessed it. The only open register while my manager was bossing me and our cook around. I really didn't like working with this particular manager as she was a massive bitch of a human being. All rambling aside, that night was really busy. Now for the fun part. This old guy saunters up to the counter, orders a coffee. Normally coffee isn't hard to make, but it was so noisy at the time I didn't hear how much cream or sugar he wanted in his coffee. I asked if he wanted cream and sugar in his coffee or on the side. About the 3rd time of asking him, he snapped at me.
Do you speak English?
He quipped, looking around expectantly as if he was waiting for other people to agree with him. I gave him my best "bitch, what?" look I could muster. I'm about as American as one can get, accent and all. Now, everybody heard this, including my big bitch of a manager and a nice mall worker at the time. I later became a good friend of the mall worker. "Why are you being so mean to her?" she snapped back. "She's just trying to take your order." That seemed to shut him up, and his order was finally finished. A little later I found out that my bitch of a manager made him wait for his cup of coffee. And by wait, I mean he had to wait 5 to 8 minutes for a simple cup of coffee with cream. I thanked the mall worker for what she did for me, and felt some kind of gratitude for my manager for standing up for me. Wouldn't you know it, the guy came back later and apologized to my manager, a few days later. Granted, he did blame his medication for his bad attitude, but he did apologize. Have a nice day. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates number 44. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. Doing a bit better this week than I did last week in terms of scheduling. There's 2 videos down. I'll save the next one for a bit until tomorrow, and that should be okay, hopefully. Update on my phone saga. You know, I was trying to repair my Asus Zenfone 2. Unfortunately, it was more badly damaged than I'd realized, so when I opened it up to start repairing it, basically just and that's technical talk for just one thing after another went wrong. So I had to give up and buy a new phone, which is this, not bad actually, it's not really the one I wanted, but the one I wanted isn't out yet. It's a Huawei P20 Lite. Not too bad, quite similar in terms of specs to the last phone. And I'll keep that for a while, and when the one I really want comes out, I'll maybe wait till the price goes down a bit, so I'm not as in much of a rush to get one now. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.